Hello. In this week's Torah portion, Vayetze, we learn about the four wives of the patriarch Jacob. Book of Genesis says, "And Jacob loved Rachel, and thought he was marrying her. But in the morning, behold, her sister Leah was lying next to him and was his wife. So a week later, Jacob married the real Rachel. But Rachel was barren. So Rachel said, 'Marry my maidservant Bilhah, so I can have children through her.' And Jacob did so. When Leah saw that she stopped bearing children, she gave her maidservant Zilpah to Jacob for a wife, so he could have more children through her. And Jacob married Zilpah also." Four wives, but polygamy is legal in the Torah. Now, our question for the week is this. Our society is moving further and further away from the taboos of the Torah. We have seen the legalization of premarital sex, divorce, adultery, alternative sexual practices, homosexuality, sex changes, transvestism. 7 of the 10 commandments are not covered by secular law. You can legally be an atheist, an idolater, a blasphemer, an adulterer, not observe a day of rest, not honor parents, and covet anything you want. You just can't murder, steal, or bear false witness. I'm not suggesting this is wrong. I'm asking, are polygamy and polyandry next? Polyandry is one woman having several husbands. Muslims, Mormons, libertarians, and others may demand it on the grounds of freedom of choice. How should we respond? First, let's look at the records. Polygamy was never prevalent in Judaism. Instances of it are few and far between. Before Jacob, Lamech, Cain's descendants, had 2 wives. Abraham married Sarah, but also had relations with Hagar at Sarah's suggestion so they could have a child. After Jacob, Gideon the judge had 70 sons and many wives. Yerachmeel, great-grandson of Judah, had 2 wives. Elkanah, the father of Samuel, had 2 wives because his first wife, Hannah, was barren. The tribe of Issachar was very much into polygamy. The Tanakh says, "And with them were 36,000 men, for they had many wives and sons." Caleb, one of the heroes of the Exodus, had 2 concubines. King David had 18 wives. King Solomon had 1,000 wives and concubines. Most were taken just to cement political alliances. The Tanakh adds that these wives did not do him good. Quote, "King Solomon had 700 wives, princesses, and 300 concubines, and his wives turned his heart away to idolatry." Unquote. The kings of Judah probably had several wives as well. And finally, King Herod had 9 wives. Now, polygamy may be allowed, but the Tanakh implies that 1 wife is ideal. The Torah says, quote, "And the Lord God said, it is not good for man to be alone. I will make a helpmate for him." And later, "Therefore a man shall leave his father and his mother, and cleave to his wife, and they shall be one flesh." Unquote. The book of Proverbs says, "A woman of valor who can find? For her price is far above rubies." Unquote. Note the use of the singular. The helpmate, the wife, the woman of valor are a single person, not many. The Song of Songs is interpreted to mean that a man and his wife symbolize God's love for Israel and Israel's for God. Such love is not shared. Our tradition has many rules relating to polygamy. First, all wives must be treated equally. The Torah says, quote, "If a man takes another wife for himself, he shall not reduce her food, her clothing, and her marital right." Unquote. Second, a man cannot marry 2 sisters. Quote, "Neither shall you take a rival wife to her sister to uncover her nakedness beside the other in her lifetime." Unquote. Third, the king must not abuse his powers to multiply wives. Quote, "The king shall not have too many wives, so his heart will not turn away from God." Unquote. King David had 18, which was considered the maximum. His son Solomon ignored that restriction, as we saw. Fourth, the high priest can have only 1 wife. The Torah says, quote, "And he shall take a wife in her virginity." Unquote. The Talmud confirms, quote, "It is written wife, this means only 1 but not 2." Unquote. Fifth, polyandry is not allowed. The Talmud says, quote, a woman is not eligible to two men, unquote. Indeed, polyandry presents several problems. First, which husband is the father of a child? Of course, today DNA testing can solve that problem. Second, it severely limits the number of children a man can have. As mentioned, the practice of polygamy among Jews has been increasingly rare since biblical times, and the restrictions have been increasing. There is no record of any prophet or rabbi in the Talmud having more than one wife at a time, and there were thousands of them. The Targum mentions that Boaz declined to have more than one wife, and asked Elimelech's next of kin to marry Ruth to redeem her. He said, quote, I cannot redeem her because I have a wife, and have no right to take another in addition to her, lest she be a disturbance in my house and destroy my peace. Redeem her yourself, for you have no wife, unquote. This implies that even in biblical times, marrying more than one woman at a time was not considered wise. The Talmud advises not marrying more than 4 wives. Sound advice was given, only 4 wives but not more, so that each may receive 1 marital visit a month, unquote. Maimonides writes, quote, a man may not compel his wives to live in the same courtyard. Each one is entitled to her own household, unquote. Polygamy was even formally banned 1,000 years ago among Ashkenazim by Rabbeinu Gershom, known as Me'or HaGolah, the light of the diaspora. He said he did it to prevent matrimonial strife. He did, however, allow for an exception. A man may have more than one wife if he can secure permission from 100 rabbis in 3 different countries. Leniency was deemed appropriate if, for example, his wife became incapacitated. This ban has expired, but no one seems eager to take advantage of it. Rabbeinu Gershom also added that a wife must agree to a divorce. Polygamy is illegal in Israel and in the Western world, and the Jews adhere to the principle of Dina de Malchuta Dina. The law of the land is the law. It is allowed in Muslim countries, but has been rare among Sephardim and other Jews who lived there. At any rate, almost no Jews live there today. One may ask the question, why was polygamy allowed in the Torah in the first place, if it's not such a good idea? Several reasons come to mind. First, it was part of the social system of biblical times. If God had abolished it right away, Israel may not have accepted the Torah. It has been noted that God made other concessions to make it easier for the Jews to accept the Torah at the time, even though such practices were unwise. Slavery, levirate marriage, the laws of the captive woman, sota, animal sacrifices, etc. Second, men were killed in war or travel or hunting far more often than women. So there was an excess of women, and polygamy was required to replenish the pool of men. In fact, invaders frequently took the women, they did not kill them. Third, there was the issue of female infertility, with many examples given in the Tanakh. Are Jews demanding polygamy today? By and large, no. However, there is an Israeli group asking for it on the grounds that there are too many single Jewish women and that some Jewish women must resort to marrying Arabs and raising Muslim children, and that the Arabs present a demographic threat. That movement is called Habayit HaYehudi HaShalem, the complete Jewish household. Its promoter, Rabbi Yehezkel Sofer, argues that Rabbeinu Gershom's ban has expired, that former chief Sephardic Rabbi Ovadia Yosef said it is a mistake for non-Ashkenazic Jews to follow Gershom's ban, that it is cruel to prevent 15% of young women from marrying, and that women want polygamy even more than men. Besides, he adds, Israel turns a blind eye when Arab Bedouins take many wives, but if Jews do, they are thrown into prison. He concludes that if a law is implemented selectively, it does not have to be followed. The Israeli rabbinical establishment responded that this move is, quote, a perversion of Judaism, unquote, motivated only by, quote, carnal lusts, unquote. So what should our attitude be today? First, is anyone asking for polygamy in the US? Yes. The Washington Post, in its July 10, 2015 edition, reports, the Supreme Court's decision in June that legalized same-sex marriage across the country has unleashed a renewed debate over polygamy, leaving some to wonder why marriage should be considered between just two persons. Let us examine the arguments for and against polygamy. First, the arguments in favor. Those who are against same-sex marriage could claim to be backed up by the Bible. Those who are against polygamy cannot. The Torah allows polygamy. This is the argument used by Chief Justice John Roberts when he dissented from the decision to allow same-sex marriage. Quote, although the majority randomly inserts the adjective two in various places, it offers no reason at all why the two-person element of the core definition of marriage may be preserved, while the man-woman element may not. Indeed, from the standpoint of history and tradition, a leap from opposite-sex marriage to same-sex marriage is much greater than one from a two-person union to plural unions, which have deep roots in some cultures around the world. It is striking how much of the majority's reasoning would apply with equal force to the claim of a fundamental right to plural marriage. Unquote. A Gallup poll reveals that support for polygamy in the US is low, but is increasing fast, from 5% in 2006 to 16% today. Also, the Supreme Court can rule it legal based on one challenge alone. Some argue that polygamy would be a practice between consenting adults and would not hurt anybody. In fact, some Muslims and others in the US are already quietly polygamous, with one wife being official and the others unofficial. So it makes sense to legalize polygamy in order to raise the status of the others for their own protection. Polygamy also allows wives to gang up against an abusive husband. Some even go so far as to say that variety prevents a marriage from going stale. Polyandry would allow women to marry again when their husbands are at war or missing. On the other hand, there are plenty of arguments against polygamy. It would engage us further on a slippery slope that eliminates all traditional taboos. Are incest and bestiality next? It would require new laws for insurance coverage, the splitting of property, etc. It would cause strife at home, unless the wives are completely submissive or living separately. Since nature provides as many men as women, if some men have several wives, then necessarily other men cannot have any wives at all. A pool of low-status unmarried men may resort to violence. Finally, children would have reduced access to their fathers. Some even argue that the state should get out of the practice of recognizing or regulating marriages, on the ground that marriages are just private legal contracts between consenting adults. Why should the government have any say in them? The debate continues. Shabbat Shalom.